Have you ever wished you could make your dreams come true faster? Well, there's a secret that can help you do just that. It's called the law of assumption, and it's not what you might think. This isn't about working harder or trying to be more positive. It's about something much deeper and more powerful. The law of assumption is like a hidden key that can unlock the door to everything you've ever wanted. But here's the thing, most people don't even know it exists. They go through life struggling and wondering why things never seem to work out for them. But you're about to learn something that could change all that. Imagine being able to shape your reality just by changing what you believe. Sound too good to be true? Well, that's exactly what the law of assumption says you can do. It's not magic, and it's not some new age mumbo-jumbo. It's a principle that's been around for a long time, but only a few people have really understood how to use it. And those who do? They're the ones who seem to have everything go their way, almost like they have a secret superpower. But here's the catch. If you don't understand this law, you might keep spinning your wheels, never quite getting where you want to go in life. You might keep trying different things, reading self-help books, or watching motivational videos, but nothing seems to stick. That's because you're missing this crucial piece of the puzzle. The law of assumption is like the foundation of a house. Without it, nothing else you build will stand strong. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what's the big deal? Why should I care about this law of assumption? Well, let me put it this way. Have you ever felt like you're stuck in a loop? Like no matter what you do, you can't seem to break free from your current situation? Maybe you've been trying to land that dream job, but you keep getting rejected. Or perhaps you've been working on improving your relationships, but you always end up in the same arguments. It's frustrating, right? It feels like you're running on a treadmill. Lots of effort, but no real progress. That's what happens when you don't understand the law of assumption. You keep trying to change things on the outside, but nothing really shifts. And the worst part? You start to feel hopeless. You might even begin to think that maybe this is just how life is supposed to be. Maybe you're not meant to have that amazing career, or that loving relationship, or that financial freedom you've been dreaming about. But here's the truth. It's not that you're not meant to have these things. It's that you've been going about it all wrong. You've been trying to change the reflection in the mirror instead of changing the image that's being reflected. And that's exactly what the law of assumption teaches you to do. Think about it this way. If you're standing in front of a mirror and you don't like what you see, what do? Do you try to change the reflection? Of course not. That would be silly. You change yourself, and then the reflection changes automatically. Well, the law of assumption says that your whole life is like that mirror. What you see out there is just a reflection of what's in here, in your mind, in your beliefs, in your assumptions about yourself and the world. So if you're not happy with what you're seeing in your life, it's time to change the image you're projecting. And that's where the real power lies. Because once you understand how to do this, you can start to shape your reality in ways you never thought possible. So what exactly is this law of assumption? Well, it comes from a man named Neville Goddard, who was a spiritual teacher back in the mid-20th century. Goddard wasn't your typical guru. He didn't promise quick fixes or magical solutions. Instead, he taught something profound, yet simple, that your assumptions about yourself and the world around you create your reality. Now, when we talk about assumptions, we're not just talking about conscious thoughts. We're talking about the deep-seated beliefs that you hold about yourself and the world. These are often so ingrained that you might not even realize you have them. They're like the background music of your mind, always playing but rarely noticed. The law of assumption says that these beliefs, these assumptions, are incredibly powerful. They're not just thoughts in your head. They're the seeds of your reality. Whatever you assume to be true, whatever you accept as real in your mind, will eventually manifest in your life. It's like your mind is a projector and your life is the screen. Whatever image you project will show up on that screen. This might sound a bit out there, but think about it. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to always land on their feet, no matter what happens? Or how others seem to be constantly struggling, even when things are going well? According to the law of assumption, this isn't just luck or coincidence. It's the result of their deep-seated assumptions about life. Let's break it down with an example. Imagine two people who both lose their jobs. The first person assumes, "This is terrible. I'll never find another job. I'm not qualified enough." The second person assumes, "This is an opportunity. I have skills that are valuable. The right job is out there for me." Now, according to the law of assumption, these two people will have very different experiences moving forward. The first person might struggle to find work, seeing rejection everywhere. The second person might discover new opportunities they never would have found otherwise. But here's the key. It's not about forcing yourself to think positive thoughts. It's deeper than that. It's about truly believing at your core that what you want is not only possible, but inevitable. It's about assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, as Goddard would say. This is where many people get stuck. They try to use affirmations or positive thinking, but deep down, they don't really believe what they're saying. And according to the law of assumption, it's those deeper beliefs that really count. Your conscious thoughts are like the tip of an iceberg. It's what's beneath the surface that really steers your ship. So how do you change these deep-seated assumptions? Well, that's where the real work comes in. It's not always easy, but it's incredibly powerful. It involves really examining your beliefs about yourself and the world. What do you truly believe is possible for you? What limitations have you accepted as truth? Once you identify these assumptions, you can start to change them. Goddard taught various techniques for doing this, like visualization and what he called living in the end. This means imagining that you already have what you want and fully experiencing the feeling of having it. It's not just daydreaming. It's about creating such a vivid and real experience in your mind that your subconscious starts to accept it as reality. Now you might be thinking, but isn't this just fooling myself? Isn't it better to be realistic? And that's a fair question. But here's the thing. What we often think of as being realistic is really just accepting limitations that we've been taught or that we've assumed based on past experiences. The law of assumption challenges us to question these limitations. Think about it this way. Throughout history, there have been countless examples of people achieving things that were once thought impossible. Flying, instant global communication, walking on the moon. At one point, all of these were considered unrealistic dreams. But someone assumed they were possible, and that assumption led to their reality. Of course, this doesn't mean you can just assume anything and it will magically appear. The law of assumption isn't about wishful thinking or ignoring reality. It's about understanding the power of your mind to shape your experience of reality. It's about recognizing that many of the limitations we accept are self-imposed, and that by changing our assumptions, we can open up new possibilities. This is where the real power of the law of assumption lies. It's not just about getting stuff or achieving goals. It's about fundamentally changing your relationship with reality. It's about recognizing that you're not just a passive observer of your life, but an active creator. Your assumptions, your beliefs, your inner world, these are the raw materials from which you build your life. And the beautiful thing is, once you understand this, you can start to take control in a way you never have before. You can start to consciously choose your assumptions rather than just accepting whatever beliefs you've picked up along the way. You can start to see yourself and the world around you in a new light. But remember, this isn't about forcing yourself to believe things that feel fake, or unnatural. It's about gently, persistently shifting your perspective. It's about questioning the assumptions you've held and being open to new possibilities. It's about cultivating a sense of wonder and potential about your life and the world around you. As you start to work with the law of assumption, you might notice some interesting things happening. You might find yourself feeling more confident, more optimistic. You might start to see opportunities where before you only saw obstacles. You might find that things start to flow more easily in your life. But here's an important point. The law of assumption isn't about instantly manifesting your every desire. It's not a magic wand that you can wave to get whatever you want. Instead, it's a tool for aligning yourself with what you want. It's about creating the internal conditions that allow your desires to manifest. Think of it like planting a seed. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You trust in the process. You provide the right conditions: water, sunlight, good soil, and then you let nature take its course. Working with the law of assumption is similar. You plant the seed of your desire with your assumption, you nurture it with your belief, and then you allow it to grow. This requires patience and trust. It requires being willing to hold on to your assumption, even when the outer world doesn't seem to be reflecting it yet. This can be challenging, especially at first. Our minds are often trained to look for evidence that confirms our existing beliefs. So when we start to change those beliefs, there can be a period where it feels like nothing is happening. But this is where persistence comes in. Remember, you're not just trying to change your thoughts, you're trying to change deep-seated beliefs and assumptions. This takes time. It's like turning a big ship. It doesn't happen instantly, but once it starts to turn, the momentum builds. As you work with the law of assumption, you might also find that your desires themselves start to change. As you shed limiting beliefs and open yourself up to new possibilities, you might discover that what you truly want is different from what you thought you wanted. This is all part of the process. The law of assumption isn't just about getting things, it's about becoming more of who you truly are. It's also important to understand that the law of assumption doesn't mean ignoring or denying your current reality. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's about fully acknowledging where you are now, while simultaneously holding the assumption of where you want to be. This creates a creative tension, a gap between your current state and your desired state that propels you forward. Think of it like this. If you want to drive from New York to Los Angeles, you need to know two things: where you are now and where you want to go. The law of assumption is about clearly defining where you want to go and then proceeding with the absolute certainty that you will arrive there. It's not about pretending you're already in Los Angeles when you're still in New York. It's about knowing you're in New York, but assuming with complete faith that Los Angeles is your inevitable destination. As you start to work with the law of assumption, you might find it helpful to start small. Pick something in your life that you'd like to change, something that feels achievable but still meaningful. Then start to examine your assumptions about this area of your life. What do you currently believe about it? What would you need to believe for your desire to be true? For example, let's say you want to improve your financial situation. What are your current assumptions about money? Do you believe it's hard to come by? Do you believe you're not good with money? These are the kinds of assumptions that could be holding you back. To apply the law of assumption, you'd start to consciously adopt new assumptions. You might assume that money comes to you easily or that you're excellent at managing your finances. Remember, the goal isn't to force yourself to believe these things. It's to gently, persistently hold these new assumptions in your mind. You might find it helpful to use techniques like visualization or affirmations, but the key is to really feel the truth of these new assumptions. It's about creating a new self-image, a new story about who you are and what's possible for you. As you do this, pay attention to your feelings. Goddard emphasized the importance of feeling the reality of your desire. It's not enough to just think about what you want, you need to feel as though you already have it. This feeling is what impresses your subconscious mind and starts to shift your reality. You might also notice that as you start to change your assumptions, you start to act differently. This is a natural result of changing your beliefs. If you truly believe that you're good with money, you'll likely start making different financial decisions. If you assume that you're confident and capable, you'll likely start taking on new challenges. This is how the inner change starts to manifest in your outer world. But here's an important point. Don't get too caught up in looking for results. Remember, you're playing a long game here. You're not just trying to manifest a specific outcome, you're reshaping your entire relationship with reality. Trust in the process and keep your focus on maintaining your new assumptions, regardless of what seems to be happening in the outer world. As you continue to work with the law of assumption, you might find that it becomes more natural, more automatic. You might start to catch yourself when you fall into old patterns of thinking and find it easier to shift to your new assumptions. You might also start to see connections between your inner world and your outer experiences that you never noticed before. This is where the real magic of the law of assumption starts to reveal itself. It's not just about getting what you want. It's about discovering your power as a creative force in your own life. It's about realizing that your experience of reality is not something that happens to you, but something that you actively participate in creating. And as you start to grasp this, you might find that your whole approach to life starts to change. Instead of feeling at the mercy of circumstances, you start to feel empowered. Instead of reacting to life, you start to create your life. This is the true gift of understanding and applying the law of assumption. How the law works. Now that we've introduced the law of assumption, let's dive deeper into how it actually works. Imagine you want to be rich. It sounds simple, right? But here's where things get interesting. If you believe deep down in your core that you're just not good with money, guess what? Life will keep showing you evidence that you're bad with money. It's like you're wearing glasses that only let you see proof of your money struggles. But here's the exciting part. If you start believing you're great with money, things will slowly begin to change. It's not instant, and it's not magic. It's more like planting a seed. At first, nothing seems different. But underneath the surface, things are shifting. Maybe you start noticing opportunities you didn't see before. Or perhaps you find yourself making smarter financial decisions without even trying. This is how the law of assumption works. It's not about forcing yourself to think positive thoughts. It's about changing your core beliefs, your assumptions about yourself and the world. When you do this, you start to see and experience a different reality. It's like changing the station on a radio. The other stations are still broadcasting, but you're tuned into a different frequency now. But here's the tricky part. Changing these deep-seated beliefs isn't always easy. We've often held on to our assumptions for years, maybe even our whole lives. They feel true to us, even if they're not serving us well. So how do we change them? It starts with awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts and feelings about different areas of your life. What do you really believe about money, relationships, success, or whatever area you want to improve? Once you're aware of your current assumptions, you can start to question them. Are they really true? Or are they just beliefs you've picked up along the way? Then, you can start to consciously choose new assumptions. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about opening yourself up to new possibilities. Maybe you're not bad with money. Maybe you just haven't learned the right skills yet. Maybe financial success isn't out of reach for you. Maybe it's just a matter of learning and practice. Now let's talk about something really important: the power of your inner world. This is where the real magic of the law of assumption happens. You see, your thoughts and feelings aren't just reactions to the world around you. They're actually creating your outer world. It's like you're the director of a movie and your thoughts and feelings are the script. This is why two people can look at the same situation and see it totally differently. One person might see a challenge as exciting, while another sees it as scary. One might see an opportunity where another sees a problem. It's not about what's happening outside. It's about what's happening inside you. Think about it this way. Have you ever been in a bad mood and suddenly everything seems to go wrong? Or been in a great mood and everything just flows smoothly? That's the power of your inner world at work. Your internal state is like a magnet, attracting experiences that match it. But here's the really cool part. Once you understand this, you can start to use it to your advantage. Instead of letting your inner world be shaped by what's happening outside, you can consciously shape your inner world to create the experiences you want. This is what Neville Goddard meant when he talked about living in the end. It's about creating the feeling of having what you want, even before it shows up in your physical reality. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect when it's not. It's more about choosing where to put your focus and energy. If you want more abundance in your life, for example, you might start by feeling grateful for the abundance you already have. If you want better relationships, you might focus on feeling love and connection within yourself. So how do we actually change our assumptions? This is where the rubber meets the road. It's one thing to understand the law of assumption, but it's another thing entirely to put it into practice. The key is to create a new story about yourself and your life, and then to stick to that story even when things on the outside don't seem to match up yet. Let's say you want to become more confident. Your current story might be something like, "I'm shy and awkward in social situations." To change this, you need to create a new story. It might be something like, "I'm becoming more confident every day. I enjoy meeting new people and expressing myself." The trick is to really feel this new story. Imagine how you would feel if it were already true. How would you carry yourself? How would you speak? What kinds of things would you do? Now, here's where many people get stuck. They try to change their story, but then they look at their current reality and say, "See, nothing's changed. It's not working." But remember, your current reality is the result of your past assumptions. It takes time for your new assumptions to create changes in your outer world. This is why faith and persistence are so important. It's like turning a big ship. When you first start to turn the wheel, the ship doesn't seem to move. But if you keep holding the wheel in the new direction, eventually the ship begins to turn. And once it starts turning, it builds momentum. Your assumptions work the same way. Keep holding on to your new story, even when it doesn't seem to be working yet. Trust that changes are happening, even if you can't see them right away. One helpful technique is to look for evidence that supports your new story. If you're working on becoming more confident, for example, notice even small moments where you feel a bit more sure of yourself. Maybe you spoke up in a meeting when you usually stay quiet. Or maybe you struck up a conversation with a stranger. Celebrate these small wins. They're signs that your new assumption is starting to take root. Remember, changing your assumptions isn't about forcing yourself to believe something that feels fake. It's about opening yourself up to new possibilities. It's about questioning the limitations you've accepted and allowing yourself to grow beyond them. It's a process, and it takes time and practice. But with persistence, you can reshape your assumptions and in turn reshape your life. When it comes to the law of assumption, one of the biggest challenges people face is dealing with delays. You've changed your assumptions, you're thinking differently, you're feeling as if your desire is already yours. But where are the results? This is where many people give up, thinking it's not working. But here's the thing. Changes in the real world take time. Remember, the physical world is dense. It doesn't change as quickly as our thoughts. It's like planting a seed. You don't plant a seed one day and expect to see a full-grown tree the next morning. There's a process of growth that happens underground, invisible to our eyes, before we see anything sprout above the surface. The same is true when you're working with the law of assumption. Just because you don't see immediate changes doesn't mean nothing is happening. In fact, a lot is probably happening beneath the surface. Your new assumptions are taking root, your subconscious mind is adjusting, and the circumstances needed to bring about your desire are being set in motion. This is why patience and persistence are so crucial. Don't give up if you don't see results right away. Keep believing in your new story. Keep feeling as if your desire is already yours. Trust that the universe is rearranging itself to match your new assumptions. It can help to think of this process like learning a new skill. When you first start learning to play an instrument, for example, you don't expect to be a virtuoso overnight. You understand that it takes practice and that you'll get better over time. The same is true with the law of assumption. The more you practice holding your new assumptions, the more natural it becomes, and the more quickly you'll start to see results. One of the most powerful aspects of the law of assumption is the importance of focusing on what you want, rather than what you don't want. This might sound simple, but it's something many people struggle with. We often spend a lot of time thinking about our problems, our fears, and the things we want to avoid. But according to the law of assumption, this actually keeps us stuck in those unwanted situations. Here's why. Whatever you focus on, you tend to create more of in your life. If you keep thinking, I hate my job, guess what? You'll keep getting more reasons to hate your job. Your mind will be on high alert for every little annoyance, every frustration, every problem. And because that's what you're focused on, that's what you'll keep experiencing. Instead, try focusing on what you do want. If you're unhappy with your job, think about the kind of job you'd love to have. How would it feel to wake up excited to go to work? What kind of tasks would you be doing? What kind of people would you be working with? By focusing on these positive aspects, you start to align yourself with that reality. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect when it's not. It's about choosing where to put your energy and attention. When you catch yourself dwelling on what you don't want, gently redirect your focus to what you do want. It's like changing the channel on a TV. You're choosing to tune into a different station, one that's broadcasting the reality you want to experience. Remember, the law of assumption says that your outer world reflects your inner world. So by focusing on what you want, you're creating the internal conditions that will allow those things to manifest in your life. It's like planting seeds in a garden. You want to plant seeds of what you want to grow, not seeds of what you don't want. The final key to mastering the law of assumption is understanding what we call the mirror cycle. This concept can really change everything for you, because once you grasp it, you'll see how you can actively shape your reality instead of feeling like a victim of circumstances. Here's how the mirror cycle usually works for most people. They observe their current reality, form beliefs based on what they see, and then those beliefs create more of the same reality. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. For example, someone might look at their bank account, see it's low, and think, I'm always struggling with money. This belief then influences their actions and attitudes about money, which leads to more financial struggles, reinforcing the original belief. But here's the exciting part. You can reverse this cycle. Instead of starting with observation, you can start with the image you want to create. You decide what you want your reality to be, and then you hold that image in your mind. You feel it, you believe it, you assume it to be true. Then, instead of looking for proof that it's not working, you start looking for proof that it is working. Even small signs that things are changing become fuel for your new assumptions. Maybe you find $1 on the street, or a friend offers to buy you lunch. These might seem like small things, but they're signs that your financial energy is shifting. The key is to keep your focus on your desired reality, even when your current circumstances don't match up yet. Remember, what you're seeing now is the result of your past assumptions. Your new assumptions are creating a new reality, but it takes time for that to fully manifest. This doesn't mean ignoring your current reality completely. You still need to deal with what's in front of you, but you deal with it from the perspective of your new assumption. If you're assuming financial abundance, for example, you might handle your current bills with a sense of confidence that more money is on its way, rather than with fear and worry. Practicing the mirror cycle takes discipline and persistence. It's easy to fall back into old patterns of thinking and observing. But the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. And as you start to see results, it becomes easier to maintain your new assumptions. The law of assumption is a powerful tool for shaping your reality. By understanding that your assumptions create your experiences, you can start to consciously choose the assumptions that will lead to the life you want. Remember, it's not about forcing positive thoughts or ignoring reality. It's about opening yourself up to new possibilities and aligning your inner world with the reality you want to create. As you work with the law of assumption, be patient with yourself. Changing deep-seated beliefs and assumptions takes time and practice. There may be setbacks along the way, but don't let them discourage you. Each moment is a new opportunity to choose your assumptions and shape your reality. Focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. Look for evidence that supports your new assumptions, no matter how small. And remember, what you're experiencing now is the result of past assumptions. Your new assumptions are creating a new reality, even if you can't see it yet. The law of assumption isn't just about getting what you want. It's about becoming more aware of your power to shape your experience of life. It's about recognizing that you're not just a passive observer of your life, but an active creator. As you master this principle, you may find that your whole relationship with reality shifts. You may discover a sense of empowerment and possibility that you never knew was available to you. So start today. Choose one area of your life where you'd like to see a change. What new assumption can you make about this area? How would it feel if this assumption were true? Hold on to this feeling, this new assumption, and watch as your reality begins to shift to match it. Remember, you have the power to shape your life through the power of your assumptions. Use it wisely and enjoy the journey of creating the life you truly desire.